So look, I grew up in the inner city of Las Vegas, single mom raising 4 kids. Okay, it was real rough, real hard. I remember I was sitting in the living room one night and my mom was crying. And I remember looking in her eyes, and I remember she said to me, she said, son, why is life so hard? Like, why can't I just spend more time with my kids? And she was bawling. I remember I was about 12 years old. She was 30 years old, and I remember I looked her clear in the eyes, and it was at that moment I said to myself, I said, if that's what 30 looks like, I don't ever want to see 30. She worked as a bank teller. She made like $7 an hour trying to provide for 4 little kids. And she did it, right? She worked hard. She made sure we never missed a meal. She was always there for us. And so that's kind of what started it for me. So out of high school, I started this little company building websites. And then next thing you know, the companies are getting bigger. I'm adding value to these companies. They're seeking me out. They're going, hey, you did this for so-and-so, and their business is growing. They're doing a lot better. Can you help us? Right? So 10 years later, let's fast forward a little bit, and I find myself dealing with some really big Fortune 100 companies, right? All because, I'm not just building a website. I'm asking them questions like, what does your business do? What value do you offer to the world? What impact do you make? I want to understand that business so I can add value to it, right? So I do that, and all of a sudden I find my software business has just grown to the point where I'm making about $350,000 a year. I'm doing great, living what I feel like was the American dream. Skipped college and went right into business. Had a nice house, had these cars, and all of a sudden 2008 comes around, right? And here I am, doing everything. I'm at the top of the world. I got good money. I got these great cars, this house, and the rug comes flying out from underneath. And it was at that time I got a hold of a book, Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it was almost as if something in here happened. Something just kind of clicked. Something just said, hey, dummy, why are you working for money? Why isn't money working for you? So we ended up moving to Kansas City. I had another friend, a guy that I started the business with. He was a partner of mine. Moved out to Kansas City 10 years ago. Had to borrow money to get there. But I took with me some information that I had learned that ultimately would change my life. So after reading this book, not only did I learn I can actually make money work for me, but the bigger thing I learned was that there's a lot of information out there that I don't know that's out there. And so that's where it started me on this journey of self-development, working out my mind, exercising my mind, and start my software company in Kansas City. And the thing I learned, remember, was why are you working for money? You should make money work for you. So I took that, and looking back on my business those last 10 years, every time a website was built and we finished it and we delivered it, I'd have to go find another company or somebody to pay me to build another website. Right? And so if I died, the business eventually would die with me. And it was in that moment when I read the book, I said, okay, I have to figure out how to create something that produces money. I got to create an engine. I got to create a product that maybe I can sell over and over. And I had 2 companies that had reached out to me who had done that business with in the past and said, hey, can you build this for us? And I put the brakes on. I said, listen, we're not going to do it like this anymore. I'm not building custom software or custom web software for you anymore. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build a product. They told me what they wanted. We went, said, give us a couple weeks. We went and built it. A couple of us stayed up all night for 3 weeks straight, built the thing, put it in a box, put a bow on it, gave it a name, and said, we've got it, you can license it. And they said, how much does it cost? I was like, $1 million a year? It was a Fortune 100 company, right? They laughed at me and hung the phone up. They said, yeah, not happening. So I called them back. I said, all right, how much will you give me for this thing? I know you need it. I know all of the Fortune 100 companies need it. I've got it. What's it worth to you? So they said, the most we're going to give you is $250,000 a year. I said, I'll take it. I didn't even negotiate. I said, I'll take it. So I get to this point. I find myself in a situation now, everyone that meets me is like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? So there's my how, right? I kind of talked a little bit how I did it. I turned a custom software company into a product business. It wasn't easy, but I did it, and I started licensing a product. and I built the revenue up, and then we sold it. But for me, what's I think more important than the how is the why. Motivation, right? We all know that motivation is key to be able to be successful, whatever it is you're doing. You have to be able to motivate yourself, right? You can have somebody motivate you, and that's great. That's going to last for a day, maybe a couple days, right? All right, you're going to get all amped. You're going to leave this conference. You're going to be amped. You're going to be motivated. In a week, that's gone. It's like a shower. You got to do it again, right? So for me, I look back on my life and I say, how did I go from where I was to where I ended up? How did I do that? How did I motivate myself? When I look back and I look at the journey and I look at what I did, I realized it was never about me. It was always about my mom. It was always about spoiling my wife. It was always about making sure my kids, I didn't have to say no, because we couldn't afford it like I grew up. It was always about others. As entrepreneurs, business people, anything, whatever it is you want out of life, whatever it is you're pursuing, that you ask yourself, why are you doing it? If the why doesn't make you choke, if it's about you, you will give up on yourself fast. How often do we do that? Do we say something, oh, maybe I'm not smart enough, or I'm too old, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have this, I don't have that, right? We've all done it, I've done it. I want to challenge you, next time you say that, just remember, you're going to let that bully do that to you? Right? Because if somebody else said that about you, how would you feel? If you would get upset, then that means you don't really believe it. And you don't have to be smart. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just got to put one foot in front of the other and press forward every day. You're going to fall, but as long as your why is strong enough, as long as why you're doing what you're doing is strong enough, it will pick you back up. If your mission is strong enough, and that's the biggest thing, find your why and just dwell on that every day. When you get up and you don't want to get up, remind yourself why you're doing it. And if your why is about you, I encourage you, find a new why. Find somebody to make your why, because you give up on yourself before you give up on somebody else.